Abstractionism. An artistic style in which the natural appearance of objects becomes unimportant, and images are reduced to geometrical shapes, patterns, lines, angles, textures, and colors. Acrylic. A fast-drying paint containing pigment suspension in acrylic polymer emulsion. Action painting. A style of painting in which paint is spontaneously dribbled, splashed, or smeared on the canvas, rather than being carefully applied. Aesthetic. Relating to or dealing with the beautiful, pleasing in appearance. Airbrush. A device that is used to spray a liquid, such as paint, onto a surface. Android. A mobile operating system, OS, developed for use on electronic devices such as a mobile phone or tablet, sometimes also used to refer to the device itself using such an OS. Animation. The process of creating the illusion of motion or shape change by means of the rapid display of a sequence of static images that are minimally different from one another. Avant-garde. Experimental or innovative, particularly in art and culture. Balance. A principle of art having to do with visual equilibrium, or two parts or sides of an artwork having equal visual weight. Celluloid. A colorless flammable material used to make photographic film. Cinematography. The art of making motion pictures. Collage. An artistic composition of materials and objects pasted over a surface, often with unifying lines and color. Composition. An organization or arrangement imposed upon the elements within a work of art. Conceptual art. Art that is intended to convey an idea or concept to the perceiver, and need not involve the creation or appreciation of a traditional art object such as a painting or sculpture. Contemporary art. Art subjects, styles, and forms that are prevalent at the current time. Contrast. The use of opposing elements, such as colors, forms, or lines, in proximity to produce an intensified effect in a work of art. Copywriter. The creator of text, normally for use in advertising magazines, brochures, posters. Cubism. A style of art that stresses abstract structure at the expense of other pictorial elements, especially by displaying several aspects of the same object simultaneously and by fragmenting the form of depicted objects. Dadaism. A movement in art and literature based on deliberate irrationality and negation of traditional artistic values. Darkroom. A room from which all light is excluded, so that photographs can be developed in it. Digital. Referring to data, including images, that are created, stored, and transmitted through electronic means. Digital camera. A camera that encodes images and videos through electronics means, rather than through traditional film, and stores them for later retrieval and use. Digital single lens reflex, DSLR, camera. A camera that combines the features of a traditional single lens reflex camera with a digital imaging sensor, eliminating the use of film. Distortion or distorted. The alteration of the original shape of something, such as an object or image. Documentary. A film or TV program presenting the facts about a person or event. Dubbing. The act or process of furnishing a film or tape with a new soundtrack or adding music, sound effects, etc. to an existing one. Embellishment. Anything that adds design interest to a piece, usually in sewing, arts, and crafts. Entrepreneur. A person who conceptualizes and develops a business. Expressionism. A theory or practice in art of seeking to depict the subjective emotions and responses that objects and events arouse in the artist. Fauvism. A movement in painting characterized by vivid colors, free treatment of form, and a resulting vibrant and decorative effect. Filter. In photography, a device that partially or completely absorbs certain light rays. Fisheye. A visual distortion, usually in a photographic image, created by a special lens resulting in a convex, hemisphere-shaped image. Focal. Placed at or measured from a focus. Footage. Film that has been shot. Foreground. The part of a scene or picture that is nearest to and in front of the viewer. Form. The element of art pertaining to the three dimensions, height, width, and depth, of art objects, or the appearance or illusion of these three dimensions, as in a painting. Futurism. A movement in art, music, and literature begun in Italy about 1909 and marked especially by an effort to give formal expression to the dynamic energy and movement of mechanical processes. Genre. A type, style, or category of art. Haute couture. High fashion or the creation of exclusive custom-fitted clothing. Hue. The property of color that distinguishes one color from another as red, green, violet, etc. Impasto. An art technique involving heavy application of paint to canvas, often with a spatula or knife instead of a paintbrush, and sometimes directly from the tubes of paint. Impressionism. A school of late 19th century French painters who depicted the appearance of images by using strokes of unmixed colors to give the impression of the reflected light. Improvised. Created or devised with the use of whatever is on hand. Installation art. Art that is created, constructed, or installed on the site where it is exhibited, often incorporating materials or physical features on the site. Kinetic. Relating to or exhibiting motion. Kinetoscope. An early motion picture exhibition device, designed for viewing films by one individual at a time through a peephole viewer window in the top of the device. Landscape. In art, the depiction of natural scenery such as mountains, valleys, forests, and rivers is the main subject of the artwork. Mechanical style. An artistic movement in which figures and images were reduced to basic elements, such as planes, cones, spheres, cylinders, and other mechanical components. Even human figures were mere outlines without expression. Mime. The art or technique of portraying a character, mood, idea, or narration by gestures and bodily movements. Minimalism. A style or technique, as in music, literature, or design, that is characterized by extreme sparseness and simplicity. Mixed media. Varied artistic materials and processes used in combination in one artwork. Monochromatic. Having only a single color. Montage. In filmmaking, the process of editing the fill footage. Monumental. Huge, imposing, great. Mythical. Referring to a creature, character, or place that is found in myths, legends, and fantasy stories. Neo-Dadaism. A minor movement chiefly of the 1960s reviving some of the objectives of Dada but placing emphasis on the importance of the work of art produced rather than on the concept generating the work. Neo-Primitivism. An early 20th century art movement inspired by the native arts of Africa and the South Sea Islands. Neo-Realism. Any movement seeking to incorporate a modified form of realism, as in art, cinema, literature, or philosophy. Nickelodeon. In the early 1900s, a motion picture theater, variety show, etc. where admission was a nickel, 5 cents. Non-objectivism. An artistic style that had no reference to recognizable objects, lines, shapes, and colors were used in a cool, impersonal approach that aimed for balance, unity, and stability. Op art. Optical art, a style of abstract Ionism popular in the 1960s which made use of precisely planned and position lines, spaces, and colors to create the illusion of movement. Palette. In art, a wooden board used for mixing colors for painting. Performance art. A form of theatrical art featuring the activity of the artist and works presented in a variety of media. Perspective. The art of picturing objects or a scene in such a way as to show them as they appear to the eye with reference to relative distance or depth. Photomontage. A combination of several photographs joined together for artistic effect or to show more of the subject than can be shown in a single photograph. Pictograph. A written or drawn symbol that conveys its meaning through its visual resemblance to a physical object. Pigment. A dry insoluble substance, usually pulverized, which when suspended in a liquid becomes a paint, ink, etc. Playwright. A writer of plays, dramatist. Plotter. A computer printer for printing vector graphics. Pop art. A form of art that depicts objects or scenes from everyday life and employs techniques of commercial art and popular illustration. Proportion. A principle of art having to do with the relative size and positions of components in an artwork, also called scale. Rhythm. A principle of art resulting from the repetition of elements or components of an artwork in a specific pattern. Satire. A genre of literature, visual art, and performing arts in which shortcomings, vices, and abuses of a certain segment of society are presented humorously in order to urge improvement. Shutter. In photography, a device for opening and closing the lens of a camera to expose the film inside it to light. Slapstick comedy. Broad comedy characterized by boisterous action. Snapshot. A photograph, usually taken quickly and spontaneously. Social realism. Art used to comment on or protest against social ills such as injustice, inequality, war, poverty, industrial hazards, environmental destruction, etc. Stencil. A sheet of material that has been perforated with a pattern, ink, or paint can pass through the perforations to create the printed pattern on the surface below. Still life. A work of art in which ordinary household objects such as vases of flowers, plates, fruit, food, and the like are depicted as the main subject. Street theater. The presentation of plays or other entertainment by traveling companies on the streets, in parks, etc. Stucco. A material made of lime, sand, and water used as a decorative coating for walls and ceilings. Surrealism. A style of painting depicting strange subjects like those seen in dreams and fantasies. Symmetrical. Having both sides of an object identical or very similar to one another, creating a sense of balance. Tablet. A mobile computer with a touch screen display, circuitry, and battery in a single unit. Tactile. Perceptible to the sense of touch, tangible. Texture. An element of art having to do with the roughness or smoothness of an artwork's surface. Three-dimensional. Having three dimensions, length, width, and depth. Two-dimensional. Having two dimensions, length and width. Unity. A principle of art referring to the integration of all the components of an artwork to create a meaningful whole. Value. An element of art referring to the lightness or darkness of a color. Variety. A principle of art referring to the use of differences or modifications to create visual interest. Viewfinder. A device on a camera that indicates, either optically or electronically, what will appear in the field of view of the lens. Virtual. Existing in the mind or the imagination, or in electronic data form. Zarzuela. A Philippines adaptation of European opera, highly popular during the late 1800s to the early 1900s.
Thank you for watching. I hope nakatulong ang video na to sa inyo. Click the subscribe button para updated, mag-like, at mag-comment below. Kung gusto niyo shout out, kung mayroon kayong suggestions at katanungan, just comment below. Maraming salamat po.